All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it's 101, and I want to just jump in and get started because I want to make sure that you guys get value out of this. Jodi is at family reunion. So I know some of our people went to family reunion. So we might have some people missing because of that. But to jump in, do you guys have anything that you are dying to mastermind about?
I'll get the ball rolling.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so I have two new clients that they want to sell their house and rebuy something in a different neighborhood and something a little bigger. And they're going through, they haven't even started getting the paperwork going, or they just started to get the paperwork going to see if they can qualify well for a loan and everything. And meanwhile, it was so weird because they really wanted to see this house that is already pending. And they don't even have their loan paperwork going. And I thought, okay, I know that we need pre-approvals before we show, but I kind of started to develop a relationship with them a little bit, as far, a client's relationship. And so I'm like, I said, they want to see this house, if I show them this one house, that might get them excited to get the ball rolling, to get them more on board. One of them's on board, the other one is not. She's, reluctant. So I went and showed them this house. They loved it. They want it. They got all excited. It got them on board. They started their paperwork. And in that very same day, they didn't want me to come over yet to talk to them about listing their house. They weren't ready. They felt their house wasn't clean, and they're just like, no, one's real standoffish. But after I showed them that house, they're like, you know what? Go ahead and come over. And so I'm like, okay, I'll come over. And there happened to be an open house in their neighborhood. So we said, let's look at that in comparison real quick, and then we'll go to your house. And
good idea.
Yes, and it was great. And so I did that, and everything went great. Fortunately, I was kind of already prepared with the net sheet, and I had already sent them a CMA on their house, and then I had printed out a CMA on this house they're looking at. And so I got myself prepared just in case, thank God. So on the way there, at the open house, before we went to look at their house, there was another agent there. She's an agent with us, actually. And I can't remember, Allison. She started about the same time as me, but anyway, she's not in PC anymore, I don't think. Her clients started talking to my clients, and they started wanting to see their house. Like, while we're there, they're like, well, can we just look at your house? We're interested in your house. And so, here we are showing their house. Anyway, it just shows how fast the snowball can get rolling. But okay, so my thing is now they do have some people that seemed interested in their house. They want to know what they want to list it for. And this is kind of where we're just not, they aren't positive what price. I told them the price I feel it should go at. They're still hem-hawing about it, getting their paperwork done. But I have possible buyers sitting over here like, okay, what's your price? And it's like, I don't really know which direction to go. And do I need to just try to keep wait? It's Martin from Motif that's doing the paperwork that I recommended. And so I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Do I just continue kind of waiting? Do I reach out to that agent again and say we're still dicing up the numbers, because they need to see if this will even work, if they can afford to buy, and they want to sell before they buy at the same time, simultaneously. So anyways, that's where I'm at. And I'm just like, okay, what do I do? Do I just kind of wait?
Okay, so question for clarification. Was the house that they loved, that they wanted to buy, did you say that was pending?
It's already pending, and it's probably going to be gone. It's pending, but they're taking up offers.
Okay, so are they wanting then to continue looking?
Well, see, they don't know if they could afford this house, because the house that they're selling is going to go for more around $550, and this house is $7. And I think it's the offers higher because they got 5 offers on that $700,000 house. And the agent told me, she goes, I can tell you that the lowest of those 5 offers was at asking price. The rest was higher, and they clearly took the higher offer. So they may not be able to, so we even need to see if they can afford it. And I did say, I said, okay, so let's see where you stand. And it may not be this house, but let's see what you're comfortable with in your payments, whether you can afford it or not, what you're comfortable with. And then let's see if that range is somewhere out. If you find, homes out there in somewhere of that range that you would be interested in, or at least that price range, if you're interested in, and then we'll go from there. And I can tell you that this impressed them a lot. And she called me today and said, we knew that we picked the right agent when you told us this. And what this was I got the pest report on the house they're interested in. And the pest report is scary. There are so many things. It has an estimate of $10,200. But, there are things on that pest report, if you read it in detail, that aren't even in the estimate. They just said, you should get somebody else out to check this. We are not giving an estimate on this. And they have various termites. They're going to have to dig through the hole. It's in the soil. It's like they're crawling and it's crawling in bugs.
Yeah.
So I know. So I said, as far as this pest inspection goes, I read through it in detail, and I don't feel real comfortable with just assuming that this is the price to get everything fixed. I feel like we need to talk about this and look into this a little bit further, because the pest inspection does concern me a little bit. And I want to make sure we're all aware of what this entails. And they said, oh, okay. And so then she called me today. She goes, we knew you were our agent because you didn't just say, okay, that's the price, and you're concerned about it. And so that made me feel kind of good.
Yeah. Well, and that's something too, to just note for everybody that, like going above and beyond is going to get you clients for life. And that's what we are looking for. We're looking for clients for life. We're not looking for one and done, for people who are just going to use us once and then never again. We want to make sure that we are doing what it takes to get that client for life. And I think when you are a newer agent, it's easier to do some of those things, like I need to read through the whole inspection report or pest inspection, or, those kind of things. But just remembering, even as you get further along, that those types of things are still important. Those are the things that are getting you these clients. And those are the things that are getting you the clients who are going to stay for life. So back to your question, what should you do? So, okay, I want to open this up to the group, because there are lots of pros and cons in this situation. And this is something that happens a lot, where you have somebody who says, I want to buy something, but in order to buy, I have to sell my house, but I don't want to sell my house until we're ready to buy. But that gets you into the problem is that a lot of people don't want to accept a contingent offer if they don't have to. And I am a prime example of that. I personally have been I'm just like throwing my hat in the ring. I've submitted like 6 offers in the last few months for myself. And every single one came back and said, if you weren't contingent, then we would have gone with you. And so, well, maybe not every single one, but a bunch of them came back and said that. And so that's something that is a real thing, because here's the thing, in a strong, we're still technically in a seller's market, not a super strong seller's market like it was, but still, you just said they got 5 offers over asking. That's telling us that is still a seller's market. And so we have to make sure that we're really careful about that, and communicating these things to our clients. So what would you guys do in Michelle's case? How would you recommend your clients to proceed?
I can tell you're wanting to talk, Rick. Let's have it.
Let's hear it.
Well, let me just make sure I got it right. So are you representing the sellers or the buyers?
Well, they're going to be both, but sellers, they want to sell their house and purchase another if they can afford it. And I had told them, and that's what's held them back for 14 years. That has held them off. They've been scared. They didn't know what to do. And I said, they didn't even know that you could put a contingency down that allows them to simultaneously do that. They said, you can do that. We can make sure, because they're so afraid to sell and then not find something and not be able to afford something. And I kind of joked with them. I said, I would feel terrible if I put you in that position. I said, I guess you would have to move in with me until we figured it out.
Talk about going above and beyond.
Yeah.
That's even a little above and beyond what I would do. Yeah, full on joke. But
So have they seen a place they want to buy?
They do, but it's pending. And I honestly, I don't think they're not going to be able to get it. Yeah, because they even felt like the bottom of the line price was probably too high. And I know the offer is over that. Kind of where my question is, they had these people that are looking for a home that came in to see the home that day. I walked in to see it for the first time too. And they're like, maybe they want to buy it. But if we take too long in this process, like if we take too long in getting the documents together, process and getting their loan approved, it's like, I just don't know. I'm just kind of like, what do I do? I kind of wait.
Yeah, I would just tell the buyers that they can avoid all the other BS if they're patient, and they can be sure that they're going to get this home as long as they, make the right offer. A lot of people are happy to hear that than rather, risk dealing with the market. I don't know. That might be one option.
Yeah. Should I add? I mean, they're asking me what the price is going to be, and we're still kind of,
you got to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And they haven't we haven't fully come to that yet, but should I
That would be my priority. Nail them down on the price and tell them, we're that way you can find out if someone's going to buy it or not. Then people might buy it.
Okay. They're wanting 560. They have a house that's not quite as nice, not as big of a yard, not quite as big, for an asking price of 535 around the corner. One around the other corner that's even smaller, that's a bedroom less, for $490. They just dropped it to $499. So I was thinking more around the realm of $549.9. And she's saying, but I really want like 560. Okay. But if we go too much above that, those other two prices, then it might start, might not seem as appealing. And plus when people do a search, they usually do a search on round numbers, if I'm right, like 500, 525, 550, 575. And if we stay just under that 550 mark, it might bring in more opportunity. I don't know.
So I think what you're saying is right. But what I would say is because to be able to go to these people who are saying they want it, that's a win-win. But also keep in mind, it's a win for your clients, but it's also a win for them because they don't have to beat out the competition. They don't have to wait. They don't have to be worried about it. And that should be a premium. So if they're wanting to walk away with 550 or 560, or that was the price, right? 560.
Yeah.
Then I would go back to them and say, their bottom line price is 560. We're going to bring it to the market at 549 to be able to get that bidding war going. And we will likely get higher than that. So that's what I would do, is I would tell them, this is what my clients would be happy with. But if we bring it to the market, we're going to price it competitively so that we can get more. So I would just have that conversation with them and say, if you're willing to wait, this is the price that we're going to list at. This is the price that we'll give you, because you want to make sure that they are willing to wait. Because if they're not willing to wait, then you just move on. The other thing that you want to make sure that your clients are aware of is that, number one, it has to appraise for that, or they can come back and renegotiate. And number two, if there are any requests for repairs, that's going to eat at their bottom line too. So make sure that they understand that with, like even with a net sheet. I know a lot of times with a net sheet, you just want to build in a percentage, or a dollar amount of, here's how much you probably are going to be giving as a concession. Just so that they can see that end dollar amount is probably what they will likely walk away with in their pocket. Because
Okay.
that's something, like I know I'm dealing with a seller right now who's saying the same thing. I want to walk away with this much money. So we're saying, okay, well then we need to price it here. So, you just want them to be aware of that, but also, so, I mean, the thing that they're dealing with is they need to be able to be approved for this other property. And so they potentially need every last penny to be able to be put toward that other property. And if that's the case, then they really need to just figure out exactly what they need and if they even think
Can
it's
do
wise
it.
to buy. I think they probably will be able to do that, but I have no idea their situation. But just knowing if they haven't moved for 14 years and they haven't done a ton of cash out refis, they probably have enough equity to be able to put a couple $100,000 down on the next one.
They only owe 167 and they're getting $160,000 of what do you call when somebody passes, inheritance. But they're 52 and 60, so they're concerned about not having a big payment. They want it small. So, I mean, their position is great, but one of them just flat out panics. And she did her paperwork yesterday. One called me. It's a couple ladies, and one of them called me and said, she goes, my partner is freaking out. She's all discouraged. She doesn't think it's going to work after she did her paperwork. I said, you know what? I said, it's okay. I said, let's, baby steps. I said, what is the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you still have a great house and you stay there. I said, all you have to do is just see what the numbers are, see what Martin says. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you're still okay. You have a home.
Yeah, I love that. It's really good to say that kind of thing. What's the worst that can happen? I tell clients that all the time. What's the worst that's going to happen? They tell you no. Might as well throw in an offer, So I definitely think that when you start to put it into that perspective, what's the worst that can happen? You're not approved and you stay in your home for another however many years that you're happy with. And so, like that too that's that customer service element where we want to make sure that we are providing excellent customer service. And sometimes that means not doing a deal. Sometimes that means no money in my pocket, but that's the idea is we're getting clients for life and we're getting those referrals. And so we want to make sure that we're able to do that by having those great conversations. So the key to your situation, I think I would say is communication. Communication is almost always the key to every situation. If you're having any kind of like trouble communicating or mixed signals or anything like that, pick up the phone and have a conversation. So I would, if I were you, I would call your clients and say, hey, this is, we want to make sure that to give this other buyer an opportunity because they might leave. They might not want to wait. So we want to make sure that you guys are still pushing through with the pre-approval, that you're still making sure to get all of that information in so that we know if we're moving forward or not. Then I want to get on the phone with the buyer's agent and say, hey, this is the situation. We are definitely interested, love the idea of being able to move forward. Give us a few days because we're still nailing all this down to see what that price is going to look like. But especially because they have a lot of money to play with and they're not like pinching the pennies and every last dime is, going to help. I mean, every last dime always helps, but, they have like $500,000 put toward this next place. It's not that going to be the worst thing if it's $494,000. So I think that when you are talking to them about that and playing with that a little bit, you have a little bit of wiggle room in those numbers to play with. So
awesome.
Good. I like that question. It's good to have like a case study to say, what do we do? I think too, the key to all of that is just that communication. We always tell you if you're like what you did, when you're going to submit an offer, you always want to pick up the phone and talk to the listing agent. I mean, it's so funny because when I am a listing agent and listing a home, if somebody just sends an offer in, it doesn't even like compute in my brain. But when they call me and they have a conversation with me, even if it's short, I remember that person, I have good vibes from them, or I have a vibe from them, and so I am able to look at that in a different way. And obviously we're presenting all offers to our clients. We're making sure that we're not biased in that way. But there is something to be said for having the feeling that you are going to work well with this agent, because that's super important to having a smooth transaction. So just, like communication is key. I would definitely say keep that in mind when you're moving forward with all of these things. But yeah, I think you're on the right track.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. What else? What else are you guys dealing with? Any objections that you're dealing with? Any tricky situations? Any cool situations? No, nothing. Well, I love that. It's funny because I am selling my property with Val, and we got one offer in. Well, we got a bunch of offers in at first, accepted one. And here's the downfall of what I just said about that relationship building. I accepted one offer because I liked the agent better. The other agent I just thought I did not like him at all. And it was my own personal property, so I was allowed to use a little bit of bias in there. And I did not like that agent. I just was like, no, I don't want to work with that person even for the next 30 days. So I went with a different agent, and that offer ended up falling through. Well, we put it on the market again and did everything. We ended up accepting an offer that was $30,000 higher than the original offer. Is that right? Am I doing that math right? That sounds too high. Anyway, it was listed at $369. And then we got it under contract originally for $385. I have all these numbers in my head wrong. And now it's under contract for $405. Everything all just came back, and the appraisal came back. We're ending up with a final purchase price of $404. So I'm super happy with all that. It's so much higher than what we originally were hoping for. And the person that I ended up going with, this agent is, again, somebody who called me up and was like, this is a situation, super strong buyer. They have this much in the bank. I mean, she didn't tell me like exactly how much, but she was telling me like, we're putting this % down and blah, blah, blah. And I was able to be like, okay. So when I got all these offers coming in, I was able to say, oh, this is the one that I was talking to. Oh yeah, I really liked her. This is a strong buyer. And this process has been super smooth. She has been on top of everything with everything. It just has been so easy. And so I do think that it really makes a difference when you call and have that good positive communication. So more case studies I like to share. Michelle, what were you saying?
Oh no, go. I was just gonna say, piggybacking on that, it's hard as a new agent to feel like you know anything at all. So it's really I find it really intimidating to speak with a veteran agent. Like some of the words they say, and they talk so fast, and I'm still trying to compute it. And so that part is really hard. And I'll be honest, it on Sunday night. Sunday night, I couldn't sleep at all. And I was up at about 2:30 on. I got on my computer in the middle of the night because I'm like, I don't even know how to do, I've never done a listing. I don't know how to do listing paperwork. And I am freaking out. My husband got up and I'm like, I wish they didn't like me so much because I want to just refer them because I can't do this. I can't do this. I want somebody else to do this for me. But if I do that, they're trusting me. So I've got to do it. How am I going to do it? I mean, I'm literally talking myself into like a panic attack and trying to talk myself back down. Today, I talked back down a little bit, but I'm freaking the hell out and I don't know how to control it.
All right. So what do we say about that? Like, Rick, you're a veteran agent. How did you get past some of those thoughts and feelings?
I felt exactly the same way, and I just did it. I just sent my paperwork to the coach and asked him to look at it ahead of time and just kind of went with it. But I was scared as hell to do anything. I knew I was just going to screw it all up. It was too much to remember. And it's really way simpler than we think it is. It really is. We have people, a team of people at the standby ready to help, and they all do a magnificent job at helping us. So it's going to be a lot less stress than you think it is. Trust me. You'll be a good agent because of the way you feel, but you'll start to get over that.
Yeah,
I was ready to throw the towel in Sunday night. I was like, done. I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it.
We all have that imposter syndrome every so often. I mean, with all kinds of stuff, like any time we start something new, we have that imposter syndrome. And one of the things that we know to be true, we as coaches, we as people, is that one of the best ways to get over that is to build your confidence. And one of the best ways to build your confidence is grow your knowledge base. And so that's one of the reasons why we started to really implement a lot of like the Ignite series and all of that, to say, you need to have the knowledge, you need to have the understanding of all of this to be able to feel confident, because the confidence is what is going to come across to your clients. The confidence is what's going to come across to other agents. And so you do need to have that confidence. And it is a little bit of fake it till you make it, even though you do have a team of people surrounding you. So it's a little bit of fake it till you make it, but it's not fake. You really do have people who know what they're doing and who know how to help you and who have been through this before. And when we haven't been through it, we can refer you out to your brokers and then if they don't know the answer, then you're like, good, thank God I'm not the only one. So anytime there's somebody who, like, even I have questions all the time, especially because things change constantly. The RPAs change and the forms change and the guidelines change and the rules change and everything changes. And it's like, am I up on everything? Am I doing everything right? Sometimes no. And sometimes, like, even one of the agents, I don't remember who it was listing a property and they got one of the old RPAs. And so they just reached out to the agent and said, hey, can you put this on the new RPA? And the agent was like, oh, I didn't even know there was a new RPA. And that was a veteran agent. And so, like, even for you guys who are newer, you have more knowledge than some of these veteran agents, because so often they are just like going with what they know has been the case for the last 50 years. But so much has changed. You guys know the latest and greatest. You know what's going on, like in the forefront. So I would say don't feel super intimidated, because the only reason those veteran agents are sounding so confident and throwing these like acronyms out and stuff like that is because they have done this so many times. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they know more than you or that they're better than you. And a lot of times there are a lot of veteran agents who like to work with newer agents because they feel like they can control the process a little bit better. And so, like sometimes, here's the thing. I don't ever mind working with new agents as long as they're confident. And so, Michelle, gotta be confident. I feel like I would love to work with you if I was looking for an agent. And so you have got to feel that. You've got to know that for yourself. And I think that's the same thing for everybody on this call. You guys are doing what it takes to like better yourselves and to learn more about real estate. And when you do that, that's going to help you be more knowledgeable, which is going to help with your confidence. And then the more transactions you do, the easier it gets. Right, Rick? We are able to, it's not so scary anymore when we get a listing or when we're writing a contract. While I was in Cancun, I was writing up offers for myself. And I will say that is a little more, that it's funny. It probably shouldn't be, but I'm a little bit more like, oh, let me go through every single line and make sure that I'm doing the right thing, even though it's like, I probably should do that with every contract I write. But for my own personal ones, I was doing that. And I still was able to do that while I was in Cancun, like whip it up and send it out. And when you're a newer agent, you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. It's so scary. I need to spend 5 hours on writing up an RPA. And that is just, you're going to get past that. And if you still feel like that, then write sample RPAs, write practice RPAs, write practice RLAs. Make sure that you're feeling confident in it. It's funny too, because the more you start to write these and the more you do them, the more you realize that so much of it, especially for the listing agreements and the buyer rep agreements, it's boilerplate. It's all the same thing. You're not even checking boxes at some points. You're just writing in basic information. Like the BRE, you're writing in like 3 lines worth of stuff, and it's like a 6-page document. And so the more that you realize that and the more that you write them and practice that, the more comfortable and confident you'll get and not feel so afraid of the forms or so afraid of getting a listing or so afraid of anything like that. We tell you guys, though, that's one of the reasons that we tell you, even like from day one, start telling people you're in real estate, because you have the support behind you. You have people to be able to help you with the contracts and the, all of that kind of stuff. But what we don't help you with is actually telling people that you're in real estate. So you have to be the one who does that. And that's why we say from day one, start telling people, because number one, it's probably not going to happen day one. You're probably not going to get somebody who says, oh, you're in real estate? Actually, I wanted to buy a house and I want to submit an offer on that one right there. That's probably not going to happen. That'd be nice, but it's probably not going to happen. You guys are all beyond your first day and you realize that didn't happen for you. And so what we want you to do, though, is we want you to jump in. We want you to get started. We want you to start moving that forward, because you have to make sure that that's something that you're getting that business coming in. And that regular business is what you have to have, because that's what's going to pay you in 90 days. And so you have to focus on that business that is going to be coming in the next 30 days. And if you are so focused on your transaction that you're in today, that you're not doing your lead generation, that you're not following up, that you're not reaching out, you're not going to get paid in 90 days. You're going to get paid for the transaction you're in, and then you're not going to get paid again until you have another transaction. So making sure you're doing that lead gen, making sure you're doing, like you're focused on that piece of it is key. But for newer agents, we tell you, do your lead gen. And in the meantime, while you're waiting for those deals to come through, make sure you're reading over all of your contracts, all of the important contracts, especially. But you want to make sure that you're reading over all the contracts, and you want to make sure you understand what they say, and you want to know how to fill it out. We have a bunch of videos of how to fill out these contracts, because it can be a little daunting, especially the RPA, when you're like, what do I fill out? Who pays for what? What's going on? So we have resources for you. All that to say, you're going to be great. All right. What else? What other thoughts do we have? Did you guys get to take a day off yesterday? Or no? Were you working? Michelle did not take a day off. I feel like I don't even know what days off are, because I'm like,
yes.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, people have this day off? Why are you off work? It's a holiday? What holiday is it? I have no idea. So I get you. We don't take traditional days off work. The only reason I know now is because we don't have coaching. And I'm like, oh, there's a holiday. But we're still doing stuff, especially as real estate agents. Those are the times when most people also have the days off. So they're like, oh, I want to go see houses, or now I have a minute to think. So I want to, like talk about the sale of my house or whatever. So we do not get the traditional days off. Yeah. But I do think, Michelle, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, you're right. I was just going to say, my kids let me know when there's a holiday. I'm like, there's no school Monday? I had no idea last week. There's no school? What is it?
Yeah, exactly. What is happening? Well, one of the things that I have been thinking about is just the importance of taking time away. This was something when I was in a W-2 job, I was always really big on making sure that I took my vacations, because I always felt like I got the best ideas and I was able to get recharged and remotivated when I stepped away. And so, because you guys know, I went to Cancun last week, I have it fresh on my mind of like, whoo, I was gone. And now I'm able to be back and refreshed and, like rejuvenated and all that kind of stuff. But what's super important about that is with real estate, I still do think it is very important to take that time. But what's the way that we're able to take that time is by making sure that we're managing the rest of our time effectively and making sure that we're tracking. So even like on my tracker, because you guys know I fill out a tracker too to keep myself in check. And even on my tracker, I wrote in that I was going to be in Cancun. So I didn't have any expectations for myself that week, but I still was able to have some real estate conversations because people were calling me up. People were saying, and I didn't tell people that I was gone. I mean, except for you guys, but I didn't tell my clients that I was gone because I was like, I'm still going to have cell service. Call me up if you need something, So I didn't say anything about it. And I had people calling me saying, hey, I want to switch instead of buying residential. Now I want to buy land and I want to do that. Like I was able to have these kind of conversations because it takes 5 minutes out of my week-long vacation. That's okay. I'm okay to spend 5 minutes to potentially make, $10,000, $20,000. I'll take that time. And so, some people feel differently about that and say, no, your vacation needs to be your vacation and you need to fully log off and all of that. And I think that's totally legit. But the key is that you have to manage your time elsewhere. You have to make sure that you're managing your time before you go and after you go. One of the nice things too about going on vacation, and this happens so often, especially like in the W-2 world, less so in our self-employed world. But once we go on vacation, this kind of thing happens where it's like, I have to get X, Y, and Z done before this time. And somehow we manage to get all these things done before we leave on vacation or before the weekend comes or whatever it is. Whereas if we didn't put that time restriction on ourselves, we would just keep working and it would never end and we would not be as productive. Your work fills to the time allotted for it. That's wrong. I butchered that, but some saying like that. What is that? Your work fills to the time you give it. No. Oh, well, you guys get the idea. Is that if we're saying, okay, I have 3 days to complete this project, it's going to take us 3 days, sometimes longer. But if we say I have 3 hours to do this and no more, guess what? We're going to get that same project done in 3 hours. And so that's why I say when we are self-employed and we have to motivate ourselves, it is a little bit harder to do that because there's always tomorrow. There's always next week. We can always push it back, which is why when we're in a transaction, us as real estate agents are we're so focused on that because it feels like, oh, that's what we have to do right now because there are deadlines for that, because there are things to manage with the transaction. But the reality is that the transaction handles itself. So it doesn't really, we do have to step in here and there, but our TCs are doing the bulk of the work. We are not having to do much once we're in a transaction. We just have to check in and make sure everything's happening as it's supposed to. What we need to do and what we so often push off is that lead generation. And the lead generating and following up with our clients and reaching out and talking to people, that is what is going to give you future business, not your current transaction. And so you can schedule your life and make it so that you can take off President's Day. You can take off a week for vacation. You can take off time to go and rejuvenate and come back more motivated. But you have to make sure that outside of those times, then you know what you have to do. Because especially with real estate, nothing changes. Our goals stay the same. So if I say I need to do 12 transactions this year, I can do 12 transactions in a month, or I can do 12 transactions over 12 months. It doesn't matter. I still have to do those same 12 transactions. And so if in a month I'm saying, well, I need to have 25 real estate conversations every week, but one of these weeks I know I'm going to be gone and I'm not going to be having those real estate conversations, That just means that the extra weeks I need to account for that because my goals, my overall goals are still the same. And that doesn't matter if I take a week of vacation or a month of vacation or 3 months of a vacation. My goals are still the same. And so that's something that we have to understand and we have to recognize and realize. So I want to talk to you guys about how are you doing with your tracker? How are you feeling like you're doing with your tracker? I love that you're okay, we lost her. Michelle, how are you doing with your tracker?
I know it's there somewhere.
Great. All right. Well, Carlos is in the same boat. He says really bad. What's stopping us? What is stopping us from being able to do our trackers?
Is there a way to go back and put in numbers from like weeks past?
In your tracker?
Yeah.
The one that gets emailed to you?
Yeah, but like, because I honestly didn't click on one of those links till last week, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So like all of January, like I just like ignored those emails.
No, so there's no way to go back and do it. Those are just for the weeks. But what you want to do is you have your own tracker. And so if you keep up with your tracker, that's what's more important. You have to keep up with your tracker. And then when we go and take a look at the weekly one, so the weekly one gets sent to you. That's what we look at during coaching. So we're able to pull it up and say, okay, how are we doing? And blah, blah, blah. But the other tracker is more important. That's the tracker for yourself that keeps you accountable to your own goals. And so that's the important one that you want to focus on. The weekly tracker that gets sent to you, yes, you want to also fill those in, but that information should be filled in from your overall tracker that you're doing.
Gotcha.
So who is doing great with their tracker? Oh, good. We are. Oh, Anthony says, kind of, Val, kind of. Oh, Rick, kind of.
Kind of,
okay.
sort of.
What? Say that again.
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
I just keep the tab open, and when I have a conversation or if I have a contact, I just go and I add it real quick.
And I mean, it sounds like that is all you need to do. So why do you say kind of, sort of?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Sounds like you're doing it.
I could be having more conversations and adding more contacts.
Okay, so that though is something different. To say, should you be doing more? Yes, you should be. You can do more, and you need to do more to reach your goals. Whatever. That's a separate conversation. But it sounds like you are at least updating your tracker. So you may not be on track with your goals, but you're updating your tracker. So your tracker is what's telling you red light, flashing yellow light, whatever that would be. You're not up to date with your goals. And that's what helps us see that and know that. That's why the tracker is so important, to say, yep, you're good with your goals, or to say, eek, you should be here and you're not yet. So we need to step it up. We need to make sure that we're continuing on. So, okay. So for those who are feeling like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good with my tracker, what do you feel like is helping you? It sounds like Anthony's saying he just keeps it up as like a bookmark, or he just keeps it open in his browser, and that's what he's doing. What else is helping you guys keep up with it? Okay, let's switch the question. For those of you who are feeling like you're not doing great, what is it that's stopping you, or where do you feel like is the rub?
I think it needs to be like what Anthony's doing up front, in front of you, because I don't even think about it. Like I forget about it. I do my thing and I go on, and not following a calendar like I haven't even filled out my calendar. I'm just really behind in everything. But I think having it right in front of you might be helpful. Like Anthony, you're doing. You said you had like a tab on your computer where it's like right there or something.
Yeah, I just keep a tab open.
A tab open. So that's a good idea. I mean, that could just be there to remind us. I feel like there's so many things going, well, I don't know about you all, but so many things going on in my head, and I've got so much going, just so much going on with family and just trying to get out of my own head of standing on the ledge of freaking out all the time, that I don't think about something like a tracker. You know, I'm just like, oh, that's just like an annoying thing. I don't want to deal with it right now. I've got other things going on, kind of a thing. But I know it's important. It's just annoying. I don't know how else to say it. It's like,
I mean, I hear, yeah, it is, I hear you in saying it's annoying because it's annoying to have to remember it. But when it's something that is part of your day and part of what you are automatically doing, that's when it gets less annoying. And when it's just like, oh, okay, this is just a habit. And so, one thing that I do, so like Anthony, I just keep I have it pinned. So I use Safari, so I don't know how it is. I know in Google Chrome, you can use, you can bookmark it or whatever. So I have it open all the time and I'm able to go and do it. One of the things that I was doing, and I think I've told you guys this before, is I have an app where you can like tally different things. So conversations with people or how many people picked up or whatever. Well, I stopped using that because I was saying like, okay, I'm going to use it on my phone and then I'm going to put it in here. And what I've started doing is just like what Anthony's saying. The only thing I do is I go into my tracker and I say, okay, I had another conversation. And all I'm doing, all you have to keep up is the weekly, I was going to try and pull it up, but I'm not going to. Maybe I will. All you have to do is keep up the weekly amount of numbers. And the only numbers you really have to keep up with are the conversations that you have had. Oh, thank you. Who is sharing that with us?
That's me.
Thank you. Okay, so like all you have to do is keep up with those things, the real estate conversations and the number of contacts added to command. The reason for that is because you are not going to forget if you set a listing appointment. You're not going to forget if you've held a listing appointment. You're not going to forget if you've gotten a listing. The things that you're going to forget are the real estate conversations that you've had. Those are the things that are going to slip your mind. So those are the things that you want to make sure that you can easily pull up. And once you start putting those numbers in, everything else populates itself. So you don't have to worry about doing those calculations and figuring all that out. Rick, did you have something to add?
Yeah, well, not to add, I had a question for you because on my tracker, what's kept me from doing is, and I finally started doing it when I went over it with Jodi last time. I only have January for it all. She said something isn't jiving. So somewhere my numbers are wrong. So where do I go to figure those out to get that right? If you could tell me, that'd be amazing, because that's why I haven't even messed with it, because I know they're wrong.
Well, I can go in and fix it for you after this.
Oh, okay. That would be amazing, because I know that's very important. Also, I'll share what I learned. Those numbers are so important. It's like keeping track of your own cholesterol or blood pressure, because that's going to tell you where you need to focus more in order to generate business. So it is very important.
Yep, exactly.
yeah, I don't do that either.
Well, you have a number of things on your list, Michelle.
Clearly.
Oh my gosh. No. And that's something that we talk about too. When we talk about, like we've talked about those quadrants, the 4 quadrants of productivity, where you're talking about the important and not important. No, the important, urgent and important, not urgent, not important, blah, 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 blah. The most important one to focus on are the not urgent, but important. So there are the things like exercise, because it's not urgent. Nobody's going to tell you, did you go to the gym today? But it is important. We know that. And we want to avoid it turning into urgent and important, which is when we have a heart attack or when we have cancer or whatever, because of the food we've been eating. So those are the kind of things that that's what we want to focus on. The not urgent, but important. That's going to be your lead gen. That's where lead gen lives, because we don't want it to turn into urgent and important, which is holy crap, I haven't had a closing in 5 months and I can't pay my bills. That's urgent and important. We want to keep everything in the not urgent, but important. But in that, that's where our self-motivation comes in. That's where holding ourselves accountable comes in. That's where our tracker comes in. And so that's why we have to make sure that that's what we're doing to hold ourselves accountable, is filling out that tracker, seeing where we're going wrong. Because just like Rick says, it really helps us to be able to know, okay, I'm doing everything that I need to do. I'm having all those real estate conversations. I'm doing all this kind of stuff, but I'm not closing anything. So now we're able to look back in your tracker and say, okay, well, you're having all these real estate conversations, but they're not really turning into any appointments, or you're having appointments, but they're not turning into listings taken or whatever. So now we are able to say, okay, maybe this is a conversation that we need to have. Maybe this is different scripts that we need to use. Maybe this is follow-up that we need to work on. So we're able to really see where are those pain points and where can we fix any of these gaps. Whereas if you're saying, yep, I'm doing everything, then I'm like, well, I don't know how to help you then, because you're doing everything I'm telling you to do. So we want to make sure that like we're able to see, okay, where are the gaps? Where are the missing pieces? How come we're not getting toward where we want to go? Or if we are getting to where we want to go, okay, now we can readjust and say that our goals need to increase. They need to be higher. So we want to make sure that we're focused on tracking, because it tells us so much about our business. And one of the keys about the tracker, using the tracker, is you just have to make it easy for yourself. You have to make it so that it becomes a habit. And one of those things that I would say is you should be doing your daily lead gen. After your daily lead gen, go into that and at least mark down how many real estate conversations did you have. And remember, if you send out a text, texting is fine, but it doesn't count as a real estate conversation unless they respond back to you. Because if you go and you have coffee with a friend and you're just babbling on and they don't have any kind of response to you, that's not a conversation, that's a monologue. And so you want to make sure that this is a two-way street and you're having a dialogue here. So when you're sending text messages, or if you're making phone calls and you're leaving voicemails and stuff like that, those are not conversations. Those don't count toward your conversations. It's going back and forth. And so really, when you think about that, it's a lot easier to remember how many conversations did I have, because you're able to say, okay, I sent out 157 text messages, but I only got responses from 3 people. That's 3 conversations then. So real estate's always a numbers game. So if we want to have more conversations, we need to throw it out and try and have more of those conversations, which is sending out more texts, reaching out with more phone calls, going to community events and having conversations. That also counts. When you say, hey, my lead gen today is I'm going in to get my hair done and I'm going to have a conversation with my hairdresser. Great. That counts. So you want to make sure that you're counting appropriately, because if you're saying, oh, I'm having all these conversations, I'm sending out all these text messages, but nobody's responding back to me, that doesn't count as a conversation. You can't count that and say, I'm doing what I need to do. So use your tracker in the way that it works for you. I will say, we used to say, if you want to print it out, print it out. If you want to use it on the whiteboard, use it on a whiteboard. If you want to do all these things, and we've gone away from that, because when we tell you to do that and use it however it works for you, inevitably it doesn't happen. Nobody does anything. And so use the model, which is what we've created for you. It does the math for you. It automatically fixes, like tells you where you are and how you are on your goals and all of that, but you have to use it. And so that's the key, is you need to make sure that you're using your tracker and you're using it at a high level. If you use it at a high level, I think it's going to improve your business greatly. You're going to see that. You're going to see the improvement. So make sure that you're doing that. And I would say, for those of you who are in transactions or almost in transactions, like Michelle, you are like so close to getting this thing done, make sure that you're still doing your lead gen. That's something that I would say, if you are not in daily kickstart at least 2 days a week, number one, there better be a good reason for it. But number two, if you are available, go to daily kickstart. If that's something that you're saying, you know, I am doing it, but I could be better at it. If you are free from 9 to 11 any day of the week, go to daily kickstart and hold yourself accountable. It is a really good way to just hold yourself accountable. We have our agents who are there, who are doing it themselves and holding themselves accountable. Go and try it and make that be a commitment for you. If you say that every Monday and Tuesday is going to be your day for lead gen, make that a commitment. If you say that because the reality is, if you say, yeah, I'm going to start going more, you're never going to do it. If you say, oh yeah, I'm going to start doing more lead gen, it's never going to happen. You have to have a specific commitment. So what is that commitment? What is the time that you're going to be doing it? And that's what you need to do, is you need to commit to your business. You need to commit to yourself and to your business. It is February 21st. It's almost the end of February already. Are you on track for your goals? If you wanted to close 2 transactions a month, are you almost to your 4 that you've closed? If you're not, what do we need to do to get back on track? And I would say most people are not where they want to be in, like, by the end of Q1, which is coming up at the end of March. It's coming up quick. And so don't wait until then to start figuring out what needs to be tweaked. Go and make sure that you're filling out your tracker. And if you ever forget what your tracker is or where your tracker is, just go to your Google Drive search bar and type in your name, and then it's going to pop up for you. So type in your name and then it'll come up as your tracker. And if you don't have one, reach out to us at pcaskacoach@gmail.com and make sure that once you do have it, you pin it or you bookmark it so that you can pull it up all the time. Okay. It's 1:59. We had really good discussions. I hope that was a good reminder for you guys, because I know it was a little bit of a monologue, but I hope it was a good reminder for you guys to remember that tracking is super important, and it's something that we have got to integrate into our business every single day. So I would say make sure that you have your tracker pulled up, make sure that you're figuring out what best way to use it so that it is part of your day-to-day, every day, so that you're doing it. All right, I'm jumping on Ask a Coach. So I will actually, Rick, if you'll jump on Ask a Coach too, if you have a minute, just so I can figure out what is wrong with your thing.
Sure.
But otherwise, I will see you guys later. Bye. Have a great day.
All right, thank you.